All right, starting off, just a couple comments on Georgia Tech. Really proud of our guys. Saturday night, I felt like they were very focused and ready to play. First games are always difficult, not really knowing what to expect sometimes from your opponent, but I felt like our guys settled in and really made some good adjustments to what Georgia Tech was trying to do defensively. Really proud of the offensive line. They graded out very well, ran for over 400 yards. And no sacks. We had 5 TFLs for -5 yards, and after going back and looking at the video, none of those TFLs were really on the offensive line, so those guys played well. Got a lot of guys, some good experience up front. I think we had 12 offensive linemen with 10 or more plays, so that was really good to be able to do that early in the year. Also really proud of the running backs. They ran hard and made some really big plays. And I think the wideouts did a really good job making a difference down the field, had some really big key blocks. So there's a lot of positives. You know, the biggest negatives were the 5 penalties and 3 turnovers. And those are things that we got to eliminate and get corrected, and we will. I think, you know, some of the biggest positives, you know, were how we responded after the turnovers. You know, you think about Travis's fumble. Very next series, you know, takes it 90 yards to the house, and then Trevor's interception, you know, responds, goes down there, gets the guy knocked out of bounds. We hold him, and then next drive, you know, leads us on a 94-yard drive and throws a long touchdown there to T. So, you know, just like we tell our guys all the time, bad things are going to happen. It's how you respond to it and keep playing. I think we had a good example of that. Moving on to Texas A&M, obviously I have a lot of respect for them. Very good program, very strong defense. Their defensive coordinator, Mike Elko, is one of the best in the business. We've played him several years at Wake Forest, 2014 to 16, I believe. And then obviously last year at Texas A&M. You know, they finished the year last year 3rd in the country in rush defense. So that really tells you what they do. I know after one game, I think they're number 6 in the country in rush defense already. So they do a really good job up front, put a lot of pressure on your offensive line and tight ends. They're very long, athletic, can run. They've had to replace a few guys on that front 7, but very talented guys. And then the other thing that stands out is I think their secondary is one of the best we'll play all year. Very long. Their top 5 corners are all 6'2", 6'3". So very long, athletic guys that will challenge you. That'll be a big matchup for us going into the game. But I know our guys are excited. I think we're ready to get into the routine of a normal kind of game week and get ready to put all our focus on A&M. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Coach Trevor had the 2 interceptions. One he got pulled on, the other one he was trying to throw away. How good is it just to kind of get those out of his system before facing a team like A&M?
Yeah, you know, I think Trevor got fooled a little bit. You know, to be honest, the corner gambled and it paid off for him. You know, and that's something that Trevor will learn from and we can learn from and make some adjustments. And then really on the other one, he just has to throw the ball out of bounds and left it in play there. But, you know, I think anytime you go out there in your first game, there's going to be a lot of stuff to coach off of and learn from, and there definitely is. And we were able to do some of that Saturday, and whenever we brought the guys in Saturday morning, and we'll finish up some of those corrections this afternoon. But, you know, outside of a few of those things, it was really one of the more cleaner first games that we've had. But there's no doubt there's plenty for us to learn from and get better with.
After seeing the film, how good a game did Jackson Carman have overall?
Yeah, we were really pleased. He did a really good job. Obviously, he had a big block there on the 90-yard touchdown run by Travis. Was really patient and fit that up very well. But you know, I thought for his first time out there, he played really well. Looked like he belonged with those other 4 guys that have played a lot. So that was very positive. You know, there were several guys kind of getting their first opportunity to be in the mix. Also, DeAndre Overton, even though he might not have got a lot of opportunities with the ball, he did a really good job, graded a winner, and you know, played with a high motor and made a difference down the field blocking. And then, I think some of those freshmen coming in at wideout, tight end, running back, and even offensive line, is really good experience for those guys and something that'll be able to help them here as we move forward.
Travis's TD run, everybody's talking about the blocking Jackson Carman. If you look on that tape, you see T. Higgins over off to the left, really putting a lot of effort in. What does it say about a guy like T in a year like this that he's got to perform to show that much effort?
Yeah, I was really proud of those guys. That's something that they've really taken a big emphasis on in the off season. Is we know we have some dynamic guys in the backfield as running backs. We know we have what we think has potential to be a really good offensive line. So to be able to have some explosive plays in the running game, comes from our guys giving great effort down the field blocking. And we kind of went into the game with one mindset, knowing that we were going to run it, but really thinking that we were going to get some good one-on-one opportunities. I spent about 5 minutes of my meeting showing some of the two deep coverages that they really hadn't done a whole lot of in the past, and then that's what they ended up doing about 90% of the time. But I was really proud of really all those guys on the perimeter giving great effort, and T did a great job, had great technique, and really, if you watch the play, if it's just a stalemate, then they have a chance maybe to close in on Travis, but he really pushed the guy to the sideline, created some air for Travis to be able to get around that. So those are big-time positives, just like there's going to be certain games those running backs got to stay in there and take on that blitzing linebacker so we can deliver the ball to them downfield. So it works all together. But I was really pleased with those guys on the perimeter.
How much does it help in a game when it's back to have already played a power five school, already been in some difficult situations, already had to face some?
Yeah, there's no doubt we're playing one of the best teams in our schedule right here early on. I think the fact that we were able to open up with a conference opponent game one, and I think we know a little bit more about ourselves after game one. Obviously, we're still early part of the year, but there's no doubt that I think that's an advantage for us. And hopefully we'll be able to. We like to say that you make your best improvement from game one to game two if the guys really, take on the coaching and things that we got to get corrected. So hopefully that'll be the case here this year.
Go back and watch last year's game against them. Did they defend Trevor any differently than they did Kelly when he was in there, or was it the same?
Yeah. Trevor didn't play a whole lot in that game. If you really go back and watch it, he just got thrown in there a few series. Obviously, kind of early in his freshman year, but. I think they played us very similar to how they've, how Coach Elko's played us in the past whenever he was at Wake Forest. They like to bring a little bit more pressure whenever they play us and try to get the ball out. And I think they've got, really good secondary that they feel confident in the back end. There wasn't really any striking difference last year in the way that they chose to play us. The best teams, whether it's an offense or a defense, you know who you are, and you don't really have to change that up. I think sometimes when you feel like you're at a disadvantage, then you feel that maybe you need to change it up and maybe be somebody that you're not. But, I expect them to be very confident in their defense and come in and play, really be who they are. And it's going to come down to the fundamentals, blocking and tackling and throwing and catching and defending passes and all those things. And it'll definitely be a good challenge.
Consider that they'll probably play a little press man. Is that going to be one of the most exciting matchups to watch your tall receivers against their tall corners in that one-on-one battle?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it's going to be a group that can challenge us, and we're going to have to play with great technique and really work on our releases because they are physical, they are long, they can really run, and that definitely will be a huge matchup in this game.
Jaelyn Lay made his first catch the other night. How did he grade with his blocking?
Yeah, I think it was good for him to get out there for the first time, and he was where he was supposed to be most of the time. I think he can finish off some blocks a little bit better, but like you said, I was really pleased. I believe that was a drive that we scored a touchdown on, and that was a big catch for him out there. Just the improvement that he made from spring ball to fall camp, and now getting his opportunity. The very first game, he goes out there in a big situation and makes a play. I think that's something he can build on. And he and Davis Allen, I think, are going to be two really good players for us and be two guys we'll count on here this year.
This time last year, Justyn Ross not a factor like maybe he wasn't ready or that? Like, what do you guys see that we don't see in this?
Yeah, I was questioning myself as I was going back watching that video. I think the biggest thing last year, and I bring that up in my meeting room probably weekly because I'm always reminding Joseph Ngata and Frank Ladson and Brandon Spector just the importance of knowing the details of your routes and what you're doing. And anytime that, and those guys actually do a really good job of it, but anytime that maybe I catch them with a missed assignment or something in practice, I'll lean over there to Justin, who sits next to me in my meeting, and I say, Justin, tell them how many plays you played against Texas A&M. He'll say 1. So okay, so here you go. He ended up leading our team as a receiver and played 1 play last year against Texas A&M. I think, the biggest thing going in that type of game on the road in that type of environment, I just wanted to make sure that, he knew his assignments and all those things, and he was close, but I think sometimes as a coach, you're protective of your guys in games where, any one play could be the difference of the game. If you run the wrong route and we throw a pick six, could be the difference in the game. So I think that was just kind of being sure that, and Justin was the guy we were moving around a little bit last year also, and obviously, he came on and had a great year, but it definitely feels good knowing that, Trevor didn't play a whole lot last year and Justin didn't play a whole lot. And those are 2 guys coming back with experience. That'll be 2 guys we'll definitely be leaning on in this game.
I was going to ask from a mental standpoint, are Ngata and Frank and Spector more ready to play this type of game than Justin was in this game last year?
Yeah, so I think all 3 of those guys have done an excellent job. I think, the advantage is that all 3 of those guys were here in the spring, and we're here for spring practice, where I think Justin showed up in the summer. And so I think that's where that comfort level comes in. I mean, you think about, 8 months of preparation as opposed to 2 months. So, I'm not going to say that any of those guys are. Justin's a very smart. I mean, he's a football smart player. Obviously, you see what we did with him last year, how we did move him around to multiple places. It was just a comfort level as a coach that I just wasn't quite ready to put him in there when you're in a 1-score game up and down the field. Now I think the fact that these guys have been here for 8 months and have done a really good job and know what we're doing, I feel confident in them going out there in this type of game and on this stage.
Like Bill said, how rare is it that somebody like Sammy Watkins comes in day 1 and basically takes over the first, 1A, 1B receiver?
Yeah, I think our receiver room's probably a little different than when Sammy came in. I think we got a lot of guys. I think it's impressive for, Joseph and Frank to come into the room we have now and be able to get the reps that they've gotten and that they're going to continue to get. But I know Sammy was a part of a big class. We had a lot of freshmen coming in that we were going to count on, and there's no doubt that he was a rare guy. But I think it's pretty unique, having Joseph Ngata back deep. I can't remember putting a freshman wide receiver back deep on kickoff return for the opening kickoff to start the season. So I think that tells you the trust that we have in those guys.
So Mike Elko defense, one of the more difficult ones to get the explosive play on just because he likes to keep everything in front?
I wouldn't say that he likes to keep everything in front because he can be aggressive. I would just say that his guys are always going to be in position. I think it's very similar to Coach Venable's defense. They may do a lot of things, but they're always going to have the guy on the back end to make up for where they're blitzing or whatever. They're going to be gap sound. They're going to have the right cover. You don't see a lot of blown coverages or a bunch of open gaps. I think it's just very well coordinated, very well tied together. They know what they're doing, and they're able to be very aggressive. And I think they got the guys really at D-line, linebacker, and in the secondary. They're very talented, and you get a lot of one-on-one situations, whether it's one-on-one blocks with your guys up front, blocking these very athletic big guys at nose guard and D tackle, or it's those athletic linebackers that your tight ends are blocking, or the corners and safeties that your wideouts are dealing with.
I know you don't study
Yeah, obviously, Coach Fisher's always done a really good job, has a great reputation, and he finds good matchups. I think he does a really good job of that. He's creative in some of his spacing and how he gets guys open. And then again, it's like I said earlier, it's when you have a great system and your guys know your system, then a lot of really good things can happen because guys know the answers whenever they see how you want to start playing them. But there's no doubt this is going to be a talented football team coming in. They got really good skill players on the other side as well.
Coach, Chase Brice looked really good on Thursday. He could have easily been 7 for 7 with 3 touchdowns. How much of a luxury is it, especially in this day and age, to have a backup like that? And does that make you feel better about maybe running Trevor as much as you do and him taking some of the shots that he does, having a backup like that?
Yeah, I think we're very fortunate to have Chase, and he did. Chase graded out very, very well and had 1 touchdown and 2 drops on his other 2 throws to the end zone. And so it's just great to see him come out and play the way that he's been practicing because he's been doing a great job in practice. And that definitely is a luxury for us. As far as Trevor running the ball, I thought it was good. There were some good opportunities for him to find some yards. And I know we had 1 called back on a holding call. But for him to be a weapon with his legs when that time's counted on. But I don't think that really plays into our thought. I think we just have confidence knowing that we have more than 1 quarterback that we feel like we can go win with.
What was the reaction like in the film room when they saw Trevor make that hit after the interception? I'm sure that went over well with his teammates.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, they heard about it for about 3 hours before we ever got to watch it on video from Coach Sweeney, from myself, Coach Elliott. I mean, that's awesome. That's what, the best teams that I've been a part of, your best players are your hardest workers and guys that are willing to lay it on the line. And so, I think it really just kind of speaks to the culture that we have and that it doesn't matter if you're the best player or maybe the last guy on the team, the expectation's the same. But when you see a guy like that, and it wasn't just him running him down, it was the initial reaction. If you go back and watch the play, as soon as he knew it was going to be intercepted, he took off right away. And that's something I'm always talking to my wideouts about, whether it's a scramble that you're going to turn from being a route runner to a blocker or, it is an interception, just that initial reaction right away to be able to get in position. And that was definitely awesome to see. And it was great to see the defense. You put them in a tough position, and they came up big for us. Yeah, I mean, I think we're always, tackle, I think, is the toughest position, maybe outside of center, just from the communication standpoint. But just the athleticism of the defensive ends, those guys have to block. You're always looking for more than just 2 tackles that can go in. But, yeah, we're very high on Jordan. I mean, he's had an outstanding spring and fall camp. And he's a guy that we feel like we can lean on and is going to continue to play and get some experience. So that, if and when somebody does get dinged up, it doesn't feel like you're just bringing a guy off the bench that hasn't played. That's definitely a luxury for us to have 3 guys we feel good about at tackle.
Jimbo said last night he would not rule out the possibility that Amari could play. What is your take on Amari's status?
Yeah, Amari, man, he has worked extremely hard. It reminds me of Deshaun coming back from the ACL. Anytime you have an injury like that, it's all about maybe the mental toughness and the work ethic of the guy that's kind of going through that. And, man, Amari has attacked his rehab ever since he had a surgery. He's been a guy that Danny Poole and his staff have kind of had to slow down sometimes rather than encourage to pick up his rehab. So it's been good. He got to kind of go run around with us a little bit last week for the first time. I think he's going to be able to do that starting off today, and we'll kind of see how he progresses through the week. And I know Coach Sweeney and the doctors and all that will kind of make that decision as it gets closer. But regardless if it's this game or the next couple games, I'm really pleased with the way that he's attacked his rehab, and definitely be excited to get him back when that time comes.
Did he by any chance point in this game as like kind of goal, or he said
I mean, I think his goal was last week, and he got to go warm up, and then we made him go put street clothes on after that. But yeah, I mean, he's been very focused and wanting to get back as soon as possible. But these last few weeks of it, he just kind of has to get banged around in practice a little bit, see how he responds to that. So there's kind of a protocol that has to take place, and he's getting towards the end of that. So we'll see how that comes out. But mentally, he definitely engaged in our meeting. He knows our game plans and what we're doing. It's just kind of getting that last box checked on the field.
Jimbo, what kind of things can you take from him, learn from him as a young offensive coach yourself? And I guess what's y'all's relationship like?
Yeah, I've obviously met him a couple times whenever we've ran into each other on the recruiting trail or just the games we played at Florida State. I mean, I got a lot of respect for him. I think he's one of the best game day play callers that maybe I've watched and gone against. He has a really good feel for maybe some counters and different type of plays to what you're doing defensively. Once he kind of gets zeroed in on how you want to defend him, he knows what to go to, and I think he's just one of those guys that's a great play caller, has really good schemes, and develops quarterbacks very well. And when you're going against his teams, I know from our offensive side that you better be ready to score some points because they're going to be creative and find ways to make plays on their side as well.
Jeff, every year you seem to have a handful of guys on this team who kind of flew under the radar, especially when they weren't 4-star or 5-star guys, be it Renfro or Denzel Johnson or guys like that. Do you guys pride yourselves on identifying people like that? How does all that unfold?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is maybe that we just give those guys opportunities. I think with Coach Sweeney's background and, we got a lot of guys on the staff that were walk-ons, and really just the culture of our program that it doesn't matter if you were a 5-star or if you were the last walk-on in the building, that, hey, you're going to get opportunity, and how you do in practice, what you earn in practice is what you're going to get on game day. So, guys aren't kind of kept in a separate box where maybe other programs, when a walk-on comes in, they're kind of stuck in that box for their entire time. I think, we're very open. I look at a guy like Darian Rencher that's come in and, put himself squarely in the mix, and a guy that we can count on in a lot of different situations. He's kind of one of those guys that stands out. Luke Price is another guy at tight end that came in here as a walk-on at linebacker. And, with Garrett, not being back and some of the guys we lost last year, we went to him in the spring and asked him if he'd move over to tight end, and now he's come over and earned a scholarship and done a really good job, brought a really good edge to that tight end room. So I think that, just giving those guys opportunities, and then, I think we still look for guys in the recruiting process that maybe aren't at a point where they're a scholarship guy right away, but maybe they could help us if they come in. And there's been a lot of those guys I know in the last 10 or 11 years here under Coach Sweeney.
In some ways, is it more satisfying as a coach to kind of enjoy the career of a guy like you were just talking about, those kind of guys, the Overtons or the Adam Choices, as opposed to the Sammy Watkins or the Trevors that kind of arrive on campus ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that you get as a coach is that it takes all of those guys. Those Sammys and Justyn Ross, T. Higgins, guys like that, Amari Rodgers. I mean, you're going to have a few of those, but teams are really made up. Great teams are made up, with about 15% of, just elite players. And then there's about 85% of guys that are hardworking, really good players that are willing to lay it on the line. And those are the guys that allow you to win games on a consistent basis and not just be kind of a flashing moment here or there. I mean, there's plenty of programs out there that have great, talented players that are not consistent winners, maybe because they don't have the core of guys. But it definitely is rewarding as a coach. I'm so proud of DeAndre Overton, a talented player that's had to be patient and wait his time. And, in this day and age with the transfer portal and all that, I think that there would have been a lot of other people that would have taken off and left looking for a new opportunity. And so for him to be rewarded and really just his mindset, I mean, he's had one of the best fall camps of any of the guys in my room. It's rewarding as a coach to still see that there's guys like that are willing to stay and put in the work required to get on the field and wait their turn. And then, think of a guy. I mean, DeAndre, he made a big play in this game last year. Had a big time touchdown catch coming off the bench. And so, we talk about all the time. It's not about how many plays you get; it's how you play with the opportunities that you get, and that'll help you kind of increase your role. But we got a team full of those kind of guys. You could go on our defensive side and name a lot of those guys. Chad Smith, a lot of guys that have been kind of waiting their time and that are very, I think one of the coolest thing obviously I'm locked in on our offensive guys, but after the game that night, just looking through a lot of things, I think Chad Smith caused a fumble that Xavier Kelly got on, right? Is that what happened? So I just thought those are two guys that have had to work through and wait their time, and now here they are, and make a big-time play in a game. And I think that also speaks to the consistency that we've had as a program because, Coach Sweeney's done a good job of cultivating a culture where guys, maybe if they don't have the success they want to have early on, that they understand there's going to be a place for them if they'll continue to work and put in the effort. And it's been great to see those guys rewarded, and I think we'll see that as it continues this year. They'll all play big roles.
Do you feel like not necessarily here, but there's fewer guys maybe now as opposed to 5, and especially 10 years ago that are willing to kind of wait it out? It seems like all the time we see guys are, hey, I lost the starting role, I'm out.
Yeah, I think it's become easier and easier, but I still think there's still guys out there that are willing, and sometimes there are situations where it's best for a young man to do that, but I think obviously every coach can have their own opinion on the portal and all that, but I think sometimes the easiest move is not always the best move. I think about a lot of guys that we've had that have kind of had to kind of wait their time and push through, and it really made them a great player by the end of their career here. And so it's great to be able to see guys that choose to stay and stick it out when they have those opportunities.
Speaking of the portal, with Saturday, the rare occurrence you guys get to sit at home and watch college football. Did you get a chance to watch any of your former players that had entered the portal and elsewhere now?
Yeah, I love watching college football when I get a chance. Obviously, we're playing most Saturdays and don't get that chance, so it was definitely a lot of fun to sit at home and watch a lot of games from 12 o'clock till 12 o'clock. But yeah, I did. I watched. I got to see Kelly play and got to see Feaster play, and I thought both of them did a really good job, and was happy for them, kind of in their new roles. And, I think after watching a full day of college football opening weekend, it made me be very appreciative of our game Thursday night and of our team, and it's just a great reminder that it's hard to win, and you should never take that for granted. And you got to go out every single week and earn it. And but I definitely enjoyed a full day of watching college football.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.